ただいまー。おお。ああ、あずみ、あれだ。9歳。ああいう子。うん。仲良くない？大丈夫大丈夫。妹。
ポン酢とごまだれ両方使う人。
はい。
はい。はい。
This is Getting Past Subtitles. I'm Jean Peel,
DK
and we are talking about a movie that is near and dear to my heart. This is my second time watching Her Lovable is Bathwater, and for one, if this is anybody's first time watching it, this is your first time watching it too, right?
Yeah.
It's definitely worth a second watch. I think it's one of those things that you should watch it a second time.
Nah.
'Cause I just had such a different, like, not impression, but just different sort of perspective, or you just kind of see it in a interesting way the second time. But yeah, like, just like one of the things personally, this is definitely like a personal favorite of mine, because like I've never been so like transported or have so much feelings in a movie than after seeing this. And I don't know, I just love it. What are your first impressions?
I was like kind of confused in the middle, and I was like, "Huh, what?" And then I was like, "Okay, I see." And then I was like, "Oh, why is that dude here?" And like, there's a lot of questions and things going on, but definitely in terms of emotion, in terms of think delivering its kind of intended emotional impact, I think it did pretty well. But yeah, I was very kind of like confused in a lot of situations.
Yeah, and
in
that's
the
why
film.
that's I guess too part of why I say it's definitely in for a second watch, because like a lot of the things that it introduces has no like it gives you context after the fact. Like a lot of characters are introduced and you're like, who the heck is that? And like it just kind of spurs on these situations that happened in the past without
Yeah.
like, you know, prior knowledge to.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of hits you with like a shock and an emotional like tug at the
Yeah.
same time, you know? And you kind of get lost of like, oh, that's like a huge twist. But then like, I'm kind of supposed to cry in this moment, but I might be still shocked at the fact that this is the case,
Right.
you know? And I think that the second watch, you kind of like, for me, I anticipated those things and those twists
Right.
kind of coming with, you know, prior knowledge from seeing it. But I was like purely into like sort of the emotionality of like all that entailed, you know? And so that was just kind of like what my eyes opened up to it.
Yeah.
But let's just jump right in. So Her Lovable is Bathwater came out in 2016. This is our second to last on the family drama list. Directed by Ryota Nakano, or Nakano Ryota. Definitely a great director.
Yeah.
He's almost like, for me, he could be up there with Hirokazu Koreeda. So he also like, but as far as like as great as the content is, they definitely they definitely have different tones.
Yeah.
But they are both family oriented as far as their stories are. But they do tell very different stories.
Yeah.
Whereas like Our Little Sisters was very sort of calm and kind of like slice of life and sort of brought in like the beauty of like the family.
Yeah.
Even though it was like not a normal family, and this one really brings out like just like kind of heart to heart and sort of emotionality and sort of more of like a deeper, I guess, kind of in a way, you know, not as subtle. I think that's what it is. It's not a very subtle.
Yeah, it's more like Miracle Number 7 in that regard.
Right. but I've seen this, and then he came out with a movie last year in 2019 called A Long Goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
And that one was also really good. I was actually kind of debating whether to put this one on the list,
Mm.
and I didn't even know that it was directed by him until I was like, wait a minute, I know that name, Nakano.
I see.
But yeah, so back in 2016, actually this was their pick for the 2018's Academy Awards. So this was their official selection. It didn't get nominated that year, but it like won a bunch of accolades when it did come out in Japan.
Mm.
And yeah, I had a quote here that kind of like interestingly summarized sort of like his take on the film.
Yeah.
But mainly I brought this quote up because it ties into sort of like our series as a whole. So like we kind of asked the same question, like what makes a family drama, like what constitutes it, and sort of like this is basically his answer for that question. So in an interview, he was saying, I think that there is no answer to what a family is. Each family has its own answer. But if you allow me to roughly define what a family is, I think that it's a dining table with a group of people who eat together under the same roof. That is why I always shoot scenes where characters are eating under the same table.
Mm.
And so I thought that was a pretty interesting little thing. And then kind of a fun fact for this movie was a reoccurring thing is the family eats shabu shabu together. Yeah. Sort of like this very luxury kind of dish, but they're doing it like every day, even though they set it aside for like birthdays
or whatever.
Yeah. But he was kind of saying, you know, he wanted to incorporate a very Japanese dish, and a shabu shabu is a very Japanese dish. But in like an earlier cut, he had sukiyaki as one of the dishes, but opted more to shabu shabu because it was like played more comedically or like just tonally with like the swishing of the meat in the pot. So that was kind of neat. But yeah, so I guess a little about the movie, since it's my movie, fine. So pretty much it kind of just starts off with a mom and a daughter. Futaba is the mother, and then she has a daughter, Azumi. And they're living together and alone. And pretty much Azumi is like, I think in middle school at the time. But quickly we find out that she's like being bullied in school, and things are pretty troublesome in that regard. And we kind of investigate more into their lives, and you find out that the father had basically abandoned the family like about a year ago, and so he had gone missing for a year. And then so pretty much right after we find out that Azumi's like bullying is getting really severe, the mother passes out from work, and then she's diagnosed with stage 4 terminal cancer. And then there's not like a lot of brewing in the movie, you know, like it just kind of like is very constant and beat by beat. And she hires a PI and then finds out that her husband is living like another town next over. And then she like finally meets him, and then basically instantly they're a family again. Yeah. Just a very broken family. So basically the father left because he had an affair with some other lady, and that woman had a child, and he decided to take care of that child. Yeah. And then just left his family to do that for about a year.
And then
the woman left. Yeah. After a month, she was like, all right, yeah, that's your child, bro. Pieces. And so his daughter is named Ayuko. And so, and his name is Kazuhiro. So they basically move in with Azumi and Futaba, and they kind of become this weird family for a while. And yeah, I mean, the rest of the movie is just like, basically Futaba is like trying to get the family shit together, you can say.
Basically.
With like they used to own a bathhouse back when the father lived there, but it was closed because he left. So after she like reeled them back in, they decided to open up the bathhouse again. Yeah. And so they all run it together as a family, and then they're kind of like, you know, fixing like past trauma mistakes with like, you know, Ayuko and her mom. And then there's like, I'm gonna kill this fly, guys. And yeah, just like a lot of things between like even Kazuhito and his concern with his wife as she's getting sick and like wants to do things with her, as well as like Azumi's like bullying issue, and that kind of takes more and more. And then there's like another thing with Azumi that like every year they get snow crabs from this lady, Kimi, Sakamiki Kimi, who lives on like a different part of town basically, and they go on a trip, and then eventually you just find out that the husband had a wife before Futaba, his first wife, and then they had a child, which was Azumi, but Kimi left basically Kazuhiro, and then pretty much Futaba and Kazuhiro raised the kid together.
What's with all these women leaving, man? Just stay.
Basically, everybody has an estranged mother. Everybody has
An estranged father.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he comes back, but like, he's the only father. Like, they're like all the other fathers are in
Azumi didn't have a father until this movie. So.
Yeah, and then there's like more stuff with like Futaba and her mom, and so the movie just kind of ends up tying up with Futaba's condition gets worse and worse, and then eventually she dies. But there's like a lot of catharticism sort of near the end, and by the end it's sort of like a big catharsis, you could say, cathartic moments, and then they burn the mom. The biggest thing for me though, watching this, the first time I didn't know that they burned the mom in the fire in the bathhouse.
And then it's like a red flame, red smoke coming out.
Yeah, from like I guess the flowers or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't know that they like snuck the mother out of the coffin into the bathhouse and then came back and then used her body.
Oh no, didn't they do the funeral at the bathhouse?
They did, but when they took the casket, they emptied the casket before moving the casket, and then they just like went somewhere random to like play it off essentially. But when they came back, they cremated her body in the bathhouse, which was like a secret thing. But for some reason I didn't pick up on that.
It was a secret thing?
Like for like everybody else.
No, I didn't. For me, it didn't feel like that. I thought it was just like, they just cremated her at the bathhouse.
Well, I'm saying, but it was like that was only a secret amongst themselves.
Oh.
Like all the other attendees didn't know that happened.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So, but yeah, like for some reason I didn't pick up on that my first watch. So the second time I was like, well, wait a minute, they did that?
Because I like smokestack. Because I think for me, the reason why I kind of thought about it was because in Our Little Sister, they have that when they cremate the father, they have the same kind of like smokestack.
Yeah.
So I was just like, I guess they cremated the mom too.
Right. I just thought that I knew that was for the bathhouse,
Yeah.
obviously, but I thought that the red thing was like in memoriam for the mom. I didn't know that they actually burned the mom in the bathhouse,
Yeah.
But it's funny is if you look closely, like it shows the fire, like the petals and then the fire and the title. You can see her feet in the fire. You can see her body in there. And I was like, okay, that's cool.
And they're using the heat for the bathwater.
So while they're taking a bath.
Kind of weird. Kind of
serial killer-ish?
Weird.
Anybody?
What's wrong with these people?
Is this how she wanted to go out? Question marks.
I'm telling you, man, every family drama that's Japanese has a funeral in it somewhere.
Somebody has to die. Like, come on, it's rule 1 in family drama.
Yep.
Japanese storytelling. But yeah, I guess why don't you run me down your thoughts with this movie? You see, you're very confused.
Overall, I think like the emotional impact of the film, I think resonated with me. Like there were several moments where I was like, oh man, that's kind of sad.
Oh man.
But I think some of the characters feel kind of like weird, like especially the father.
Oh yeah.
I'm just like,
what a douche.
no, what? Yo, what? Like he has no like sense of like responsibility. Or like he like even when he's at the bathhouse and once they're like family together, like he never really works. So he kind of like he sits around. Well, I mean, like he puts the wood in the thing and stuff, but like after a while, he just like kind of like chills. He's like smoking, especially when the hiker dude comes. He's like eating ice cream. He's just chilling. He's like, I can just goof around, and it's just kind of weird. how like he's like, oh, I'm gonna take care of them now. Once like the mother is about to die,
Right.
she's like, you know, he does all the pyramid and stuff. And I was like, I'm gonna take care of them and all that. But then, like after she's dead, she's just like, or like even while she's in the infirmary in the hospital, he's just kind of like, he never visits her once. He like always is like, just fooling around, or like he's just kind of like, I'm sure he's working, right?
Yeah.
But I like, you know, like the impression that I get from his character is very kind of like
cold, maybe.
Yeah,
like,
cold or like indifferent to it.
Sure, yeah.
And I'm just kind of like confused at that, you know what I mean? Because it doesn't really like resonate at the same kind of like level.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was always kind of like, it's like such a weird character. Also, like the hiker dude came out of
Takumi.
nowhere, man. And I'm just like, what's his name? Tanuki?
Takumi.
Takumi, yeah. I'm just like, what are you doing here, bro? And like
Interesting little bit.
Yeah, like that little moment when they go on the trip and like they pick him up. At first I was like, man, is he gonna be some kind of weird like serial killer or something, you know?
Right.
But then it turns out he's just some loser.
Pretty much.
I mean, like it's a little nice like little kind of story, I guess.
Right.
But it also felt kind of like out of place for me too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could agree there. It's a little left field. It is definitely the most left field.
And like it's just like the pace of it was like so fast.
Right.
Like it just like their kind of relationship, like Futaba and Takumi, and also like the kid's relationship with him, and also just kind of like that whole situation.
Yeah.
It just kind of felt like
I actually had to go back because like he like walks up to the car and his like quote unquote pickup line is like, I love red cars, you know? And then it like everything works out okay, like logically in the beginning, and she's like, yeah, I don't know you, like
no.
Go find another red car, you know? And then he's like, and then they're like, we're about to go eat lunch, and he's like, after 5 hours, I'm an expert, I can chaperone you around. And then they're like interested in him after that, and they're like, 5 hours? How does that sound? And like Azumi's like, yeah.
And it was just like, huh?
I had to go back because like when I watched it the other night, I was like, I didn't really pick up on the subtitles, and I was like, oh well, whatever, I'll like go back when I take notes. And I went back to take notes. I was like, that doesn't seem convincing. Like, you know, they just not doesn't.
It's like
seem...
5 hours, like
what? Yeah.
So you're not even like from here, like literally, like you came here and you just kind of checked out a few places,
right?
And then they just like, okay. It just felt very like, I need to move the story forward kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's such like you look at it in an overview and it is kind of its own thing, sort of the whole hitchhiker bit. Because I mean, they do it while they're on the way to, you know, have the snow crabs.
Yeah.
So it's like the situation starts off like, oh, we're going on a day trip. And then like this guy pops up and it's like this weird side story just for them to continue on to the story we already like anticipated, you know?
Yeah.
And then it's just, I don't know, like I guess they needed to fill time,
Maybe.
you know? Like, I'm not saying like, I mean, I kind of enjoyed it like through and through. It like, I guess works in a way, you know? Like, I guess the whole significance of it and sort of like she's sort of this light to the world kind of character, you know? But just looking at it like, structurally or like linear as a story, it is very kind of like its own
I understand what they're trying to do with that character and what they're trying to do, like portray or show, which is what you said, like she's like whoever she meets, she's able to kind of like make them feel like they're part of family and like all of that. I understand that. It's just I feel like the execution of it kind of felt awkward, you know, in parts of it.
Well, again, like I guess it goes back to kind of what you mentioned before. Like, if you took that out, the story would have been fine.
Exactly. Right? That's what I'm saying. Like, I think it could have been fine without that character too. So it's just like...
And that's where questions get
raised. Yeah, that's why I'm just like, I'm kind of confused there. But... Because it's still a long movie. It's like a 2-hour movie.
Yep.
So even if they took it out, it's probably like, 15 minutes less?
Yeah, if that.
If that. So I'm just like, okay.
I mean, like you would lose maybe a half an hour with like, you know, all the future stuff as well. But even then,
well, I'm thinking with all of the stuff, maybe like 20 minutes then.
That's
but
not
that's
a big
still
deal.
not a big deal. You know what I mean?
It's not a big deal.
From the scheme of things. But maybe they just needed a funeral attendee person
We need somebody to like
who's not like all the way in the family, but
Right,
like
right.
just kind of close enough to kind of, you know,
fill in the gap a little bit.
yeah, like attend to the people coming in the funeral. I don't know.
But I mean, yeah, I guess I don't know. I mean, like again, like it's fine. Like it works for me anyway. But is just a little out of place in a certain sense, you know.
Yeah. And then after that, they go to the snow crabs.
Mm.
And that part, I was just like, what the hell just happened? When she slapped her, I was like, what?
Again, like the movie just throws at you things.
Yeah.
And you're like,
And I'm just like, bruh, did you really need to slap her in the face?
oh man.
And yeah.
What'd you think of the
I was-
reveal? Like right after.
I was actually really confused because I was like, I didn't like piece the crab stuff together
Okay.
in the beginning and stuff. So while I was watching, I was like, how is she the mother? And then like they're like kind of explaining it. I'm like, okay, I see how she's the mother, but like it just felt very like twist for the twist's sake kind of for me. Like they planned it, right? Obviously, but
yeah.
it just kind of felt a little cheap. Like it just kind of felt a little bit like, ha, we got you now. I got the slap. You know?
Oh no, I got.
But I think the little bit with her actually finally like coming face to face with Azumi after she realizes.
Yeah.
It like after Futaba tells her it's her mother, and she's like, oh, go meet her, right? And then outside, like she does all the sign language thing, and she's like, oh, like Futaba told me to learn it because it'll be useful. Like all of that was very like sweet and very like, you know, teary, you know, stuff like that, and I actually liked it a lot.
Yeah.
But like I just felt like it was a little like, come on, guys, you this is like a cheap blow, you know?
You like kick me in the nuts
Yeah,
here, bro.
man,
Like,
that's a little like,
cheap shot.
yeah, but
Yeah. The movie does that a lot.
yeah, and it just feels at a certain point you're just like, is there gonna be another mother, or like is there gonna be another father somewhere coming out of nowhere? Is the PI, the private investigator, like,
And I mean that does happen,
the
right?
father?
I mean technically that happens because then it's like, oh, I found your mother. Like the PI is like,
Yeah.
and then you're like,
And that part too, I was like, you really need to put another one of these in? like honestly, I think the movie would have been fine without having that
think
mother
so
bit
too, yeah.
I was like,
because I bought like she gets hospitalized and then like their first normal day at the hospital.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, I had that dream with my mom when she went to get me from heaven.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And I was like, I totally bought into
Exactly.
that. Even the second time, I
I
was
think
like,
it was better that way. You know what I mean? To be
Right,
honest,
right.
I didn't like the fact that like she goes to the place and she sees her mother happy with like some other family. Like she like throws that thing.
right.
It just, I don't know, like it at that point it was like, man, there's too many of these. You know what I mean? Like you did 3. Okay, you get 1, 2, 3. You get 3 strikes and you're out, man. You don't get any more. It just kind of felt, and also like that twist in the beginning where like you have that flashback in the beginning where it's that flashback of Futaba as a little kid and the mother, but you think it's Ayuko because like at that moment it's like,
You're blowing my mind right now. Really? Oh,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
'Cause
Oh,
at
yeah, because
that
she says
moment-
Futaba. Like,
yeah.
Oh!
At that moment in the beginning, you don't know it's
Yeah.
Futaba and her mother. You think it's Ayuko and her mother because
it suggests
yeah,
it,
because it
yeah.
suggests that like she's gonna come back, and that's the moment where the mother tells Ayuko, "Oh, I'm gonna come back." You think it's that, but it's actually not that. It's Futaba's thinking
Yeah,
about
yeah.
her own mother.
Okay, that's poor, like, either storytelling or editing.
Well, I think they did that on purpose to kind of like suggest like
Yeah.
that twist and kind of make you think that it's Ayuko, but then, oh, it's actually Futaba.
I get that, but like, I don't know, like, yeah, I guess in the sense of, because I think the problem where I was gonna say initially was with Futaba's mother's review,
Yeah.
is that it wasn't it feels even more left field because it wasn't built up in any sort of way.
At all.
Like,
yeah.
like zero, none. Like,
And like that beginning thing I just talked about does nothing to help.
yeah,
right?
like this is my second time watching it. I'm just not realizing
exactly.
it. But like she does like it because it plays that memory once and then it plays it again.
Again
and
later,
then, like,
yeah.
And then the mother says hutaba. But like I don't know, being like an English speaker too though, like sometimes the names get messed up.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
even then, like you play the same clip twice, it doesn't really, you know, like you still think, oh yeah, that's the Ayuko memory or whatever. But yeah, like it just definitely needed more of a setup before kind of that punchline, you know.
Yeah. And then,
Yeah, especially with the convincing like her morning recall or whatever. I don't know.
yeah. And so like the mother part, I think it never really drew too much like emotional
That's true, too.
like investment from me too either, because at that point I'm like, I don't even think the mother cares. And I kind of feel bad for Futaba, but like
Yeah.
at that point you're like, just get over it. Your mother's dead in heaven, and you know you're gonna go see her soon.
Well, you know, it's not significant anymore because it happens like right at the end of the movie.
Yeah,
basically.
yeah.
It's pretty much like the last reveal of the
yeah.
film. But by that time, like the kids know that Futaba's dying from cancer. Like they just find out, and sort of her condition is like at its worst
really
at
bad.
this point.
Yeah.
So like the main plot, like the main story point, should be Futaba, like their relationship with her, and sort of
Exactly.
like wrapping up this bow. But instead, we get like another like
Reveal,
payoff
yeah.
from like way in the very beginning when she's like, oh, I have another request from the PI,
Yeah.
which doesn't come back till the last
Exactly.
half hour or whatever. But by the time we get to that point, like our focus isn't even on anything
Yeah,
else.
you're just focused on, is like Futaba gonna live, or is she gonna
right.
You know, like you're all so invested in that. You're like, what other story can I care about at this point? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even for Futaba too, like, like I feel like her focus and emotion should be towards her kids.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
her family than anything.
Yeah.
I mean, like it has been for the entirety of the film, you know?
Like I do see how like she would care to see her mother once more, but like
I think that if they maybe had shuffled things around,
pushed it earlier, maybe
Right.
like before they went on the trip or something, maybe I don't know. It might have been a little more like, dang, my mother doesn't even care, and now you're going, and now you lose your children possibly to this other woman. Like that might have been a better like sequence of things to kind of like push it more higher stakes.
Like if she was healthier and she was at the time that she could do it herself, I feel that would have been perfect.
Yeah.
But then just waiting to like that long in the story, just definitely.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. I think that's like that moment is more the wrench than anything else, more than the other thing that we were talking about.
Takumi.
Takumi, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like Takumi's part wasn't like a problem. I feel like this one is a little bit like more
problematic.
Yeah.
Just like tonally, I guess maybe.
Yeah, like pacing wise and stuff like that. I just think it kind of ruins it a lot more. Whereas like Takumi thing, it just kind of feels like, oh, like a little side thing that just happens.
Right.
Whereas this one is just like, huh? You know, like,
another mother
you're
problem.
trying too hard at this point, you know?
Everybody has a mom problem.
Yeah.
Literally.
Exactly.
Literally. Yeah. Even the dad.
Yeah.
Like lost both of his parents.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then so after that, then it's like the last moment with the mom and Azumi, before she dies. What do you think of that scene?
Like the very last moment.
Yeah, so Azumi visits her mom and she's like really
No, she's like out of it.
Yeah.
I like that moment. The moment that touched me the most actually is like right after the pyramid scene where like they do that pyramid thing for Futaba, and then she's like she goes back inside and she's like, I want to live. I don't want to die. That got me. I was like, damn, dude.
For sure.
Cause like it's like that moment where like when you're younger, like I feel like for me, right? For example, like I'm young and I don't have any kids and I don't have like a significant other. So I feel like if I died, like it wouldn't feel as like I want to live. You know what I mean? I feel like if I died, I could still like die and kind of like be at peace. But like if you had to like leave behind people that you like your blood, like, you know, your like
Right.
children, and like just kind of like that kind of like feeling, I feel like it would be so hard to do. Like, and like at that moment, I think I would say the same thing. Like, I would want to live,
Right.
like with that level of like, you know, like desperation. And like I think it's just kind of like, yeah, it was like a moment for me. I was like, dang.
She sold the part too, though. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
She like gradually throughout the movie, she really does like look thinner and get weaker and like much paler. And like that moment is, well, like not the worst of the worst because the scene afterwards like really bad, but like that's sort of like her last wits kind of end, you know?
Yeah, that's like the last moment where she's actually kind of like
A person.
yeah,
Yeah.
she's there.
Yeah. So, yeah, and like that too. Like I felt like that was the the worst, like the most emotional part, like where you felt like the saddest.
Yeah.
Even more than like the scene afterwards,
Yeah.
and even that scene was like really.
That was bad. Yeah, that was bad too. But
I would say like that was the most emotional, and then the very last scene is like the most painful scene I've like really seen in a movie.
But I mean, like it's like, it's like weirdly kind of like calming, like kind of like reassuring, kind of, because like the thing that Azumi says to her,
Right.
I feel like it's such a like really well put, kind of like she's like, oh, I'll never leave, like
You'll never be alone.
Yeah, you'll never be alone. And I think for Futaba to hear that, I think would have given her so much like hope, even in the midst of like her just not being there, you know, like
right.
just like her daughter saying that to her, I think would have meant a lot to her. Like you're never gonna be alone, and yeah, that is a sad moment though.
Yeah, I mean, but like even for like Futaba in that situation, it's so hard to like see what she wants to say. Like clearly she wants to say something, you know, and is like kind of tugging at something, but you can't like tell if it's like accepting that reassurance or like something entirely different in a way, you know. And it's like just the opportunity that she's not able to respond.
Yeah,
is like
sad.
My heart.
You're done. You're done. No more words for you. Script is over for you.
Reads the script. ... Oh, oof.
Dead people don't talk. Dead men don't talk.
This is where you get fired. Yeah, and then the funeral happens.
Yeah.
The whole thing, which was I guess neat. I don't know.
They need a funeral scene, man.
You can't go out without the funeral
You either
scene.
start or end with a funeral scene.
In this case, we just ended it with one. Wow. This is a world record. It's one funeral. It's not 3. Yeah. But yeah, for me, I really do like this movie for, I guess again, like just repeating myself, just like it does take a second watch, because I do remember too, even like the first time, just kind of like being tackled and punched in the face with like random surprises. And I'm like, I really like twists, and I'm more lenient towards like, even if it's like left field and kind of like, if it works for me, you know? And like the reveals are really a lot and sudden here, but they do work. And so I was like, oh my God, followed by tears. Like, yeah, like the dad coming by and it's like, oh, there's like, and he's like, wow. He literally says, wow. And then she like knocks him in the head with a spoon. But yeah, like definitely my favorite scene in this movie is between Azumi and then her estranged mother.
That moment.
Sakamiki. Yeah.
When they do the sign language.
Yeah. Just like honestly that whole scene.
Yeah.
Just kind of like watching it again, like from through and through. It's like, it's honestly so powerful and like so just different in a way, you know? And kind of, again, like that's a more, like that is the best played out kind of reveal in the movie, because it does keep consistency with everything that happens beforehand, rather with like the whole mother thing, which it doesn't. So like after, so everything comes together and like the mom reveals, it's like, oh, and then just kind of like the way like the actors really portray it together and like that connection. Yeah, just kind of like just that moment, and just like, you know, there's no dialogue because it's all sign language and quiet. It's just really impactful in sort of way. I think maybe just what gets me off a little bit. It's just like the weirdness of Sakamiki integrating into the family
Yeah.
afterward. She's like, oh yeah, I'm coming over for dinner, and
Yeah,
then like,
you're
oh, I'm
all
staying
like-
over for 3
yeah.
days. And it's like, what is
We're
your
all
role?
good now. You know, like we're all cool.
We're good.
Like I wasn't with her for like 16 years, but
I know.
now I'm okay.
You know,
It's like-
live with your husband and
Honestly, I don't even like the reason why she left too was like I was just kind of like, huh? You know, like it just I was like
oh, yeah,
I don't think it was a good enough reason for her to like leave, you know.
What is like she's 19 and just couldn't like bear her being deaf.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, not being able to
Take care of her or whatever.
Yeah.
But I feel like you could.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I guess it was.
I mean, it is what it is, but
Yeah, it is what it is
Yeah.
for me too. But yeah, I mean, like the center of the piece of the movie is really Futaba,
yeah.
right? And so we're kind of like investigating kind of like the whole, I don't know, like meaning of the movie or whatever. Like for me, I kind of went through like, I mean, this is a like all family dramas. This is a very character film, character study, and just like every character is really just a facade.
Yeah.
Honestly, like everybody is a facade for their true emotions.
Yeah.
Like Hutaba's like the super kind of strong-willed person, and she's like really, you know, making people kind of do things for themselves in a way, to like overcome like obstacles and fears, and like over the fact that she's, you know, has stage 4 terminal cancer. Kind of like you get that sense, like it's not really said, but like it's kind of said with the actions of like, you know, after she finds out and she's in the bathtub and she's like, I decided,
Yeah.
and then kind of like everything else happens. But like it isn't up until the end where like everybody's facade kind of fades away. Like that moment, like that's your favorite, when she's like crying out in desperation that she wants to live.
Yeah.
It's kind of like all the walls being kind of like broken down for her, and also for her husband Kazuhiro too. Like, you know, he's very like this kind of nonchalant kind of character, like carefree in the world, and sort of that, but then like sort of has this weird huge emotional breakdown when he has the favor to ask. And like, I mean, his character, I guess, works for me in a way. I mean, I don't know, like he just defines as a character that can't express himself well, or is also just a loser. Like, like just that's that, you know. Like it is weird, like to see like him not showing emotion or not really caring for the situation, you know, and kind of just going along with like, oh yeah, she found me, so now we're a family, and oh, this is your sister, by the way, and just whatever, you know. But I guess I don't know, like the second time watching it, you kind of see more of how it makes sense with this character. I think because like it's consistent throughout the movie. You know, maybe if it wasn't consistent, it'd be weird, but it is his character, like, throughout the whole thing.
I don't doubt that it's his character. I just think he's just
a loser.
Yeah, he's just an asshole most of the time, man. And he just doesn't even have the guts to go and tell her stuff on his own, you know? He always has to ask his daughter, like, go tell her this and stuff like that, you know? I just kind of, I'm just like, come on, man, she's about to die.
Like, yeah, that bothers me too, but it's like, it works, right? Because like if it feels like if that's the director's intention, then
no, I get it. It's just
thanks for making me feel like
it just makes me frustrated, you know. I'm just like, dude, come on, man.
He's like, yeah, it's like her condition's not getting better, right? And Azumi's like, no. It's like, oh, and I like the mini pyramid thing, whatever. For some reason, I thought that scene that he gave that to her like way later. I guess it came by pretty soon. But yeah, I mean, just kind of like seeing like everybody has a facade and things kind of break down eventually and whatever. But yeah, I guess I don't know, like tonally wise, like story wise, I like the characters a lot, and I think the movie just really kind of. Well, I was thinking about like the pacing, and like the movie's a very actually fast-paced film. Like I kind of break it down into like arcs in a way. Like it's like Futaba, and it's like Azumi with the whole bullying thing, and then it's like the father, and the father's bit is a little long, and then it's like Ayuko with.
I was confused with the underwear stuff too.
When she peed
It's like,
herself?
no, when she like,
Oh.
well, she like stripped in the classroom, but like,
Right.
why did she buy her like underwear? Was that just a setup? It was just like so like,
Like plot wise, like overarching, it kind of set up for
yeah,
the
but I
thing.
was just like,
But like she gave her the thing.
what a dumb setup. I was like,
It's like a birds and the bees talk in a way.
I was like, dude.
Yeah, they like, but they rusted over as like a birds and the bees talk thing.
Yeah, exactly. But I was just like, come on, that was just too obviously a setup, you know?
Right. Yeah, when it happens.
Yeah,
But again, like it works. You know.
I guess. I was just like, okay, dude.
I was like, oh, she's dying, so she can't have the birds and the bees talk with her daughter. So might as well do it now.
What is this?
Here's some lingerie.
I was like, what? Why are you buying like a middle schooler like?
But I mean, to play devil's advocate, like even the very beginning scene is like she's hanging up laundry, and she looks at her daughter's like bra and is like, "This will work for now." But then that still kind of
no.
still plays over. Still plays over.
But yeah,
But
anyways.
yeah, that was an interesting scene too. Yeah, impactful, I guess. Just weird.
Yeah, they're definitely going for the impact.
Yeah,
There.
honestly, in every scene, it's
Going
like
for the shock.
it's so like over the top in some ways.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna strip.
Like I liked the premise of it where like she's telling her to like stand up for herself.
Right. Yeah.
Like I like that.
Mm.
It's just like the way that she went about doing that, I was like, that's a weird way of doing that, you know? Like
movie-esque.
yeah, like I was like, you can just go up to the bully and be like, give me back my uniform. You don't have to strip in front of the whole class. But there it is.
At least you wear the nice stuff. I don't know.
Anyways, let's move on to another topic.
Moving on. Yeah, but like going along with that, so like even another kind of like structure for the film is foreshadowing, I guess, where like I kind of compared it to like a stand-up comedy. Like it's very set up punchline.
Yeah,
punchline,
it does that a lot.
But like it's not comedy punchline. It's
No.
it's a sad punchline. You know. But like again with like the lingerie, right? Like that's a setup, and then it punches lines to that scene. Or like I wrote some down.
Yeah.
Like yeah, like blah 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 blah.
I mean, basically everything in this movie is like
yeah,
that.
there's so many, like the snow
But
crabs.
The thing is, like, I feel like because it feels so like obvious, it feels like that. It feels like a stand-up comedy bit. You know what I mean? It doesn't feel like a more as natural as like a movie normally would be.
Well, it's
Whereas
like
like in like Our Little Sister, like there are little setups here and there too. I feel like
right, but
in
it's
that
definitely
too.
subtle.
But it's way more subtle. It's not like oh okay, I saw that coming a mile away, right? Like when I saw her giving that lingerie to her, I was like, okay, this is definitely gonna come out like sooner or later. And lo and behold, it came out. Or like even like Takumi is like, oh, like he's definitely gonna show up at the end, and like like that moment's gonna happen. Or like like so many in this movie that it's just so obvious that it kind of, it's like you're waiting for the punchline. You're like, okay, when's it gonna come? When's it gonna come? And like, and I'm not saying that's like necessarily a bad thing,
Right.
but I do think in the context of a film, I think it does make it feel a little more artificial in that sense, you know.
Sure.
Whereas like other films might kind of play it a little more subtly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little more gullible than you in some cases. Like my first watch, kind of a lot of the things took me by surprise because I didn't like anticipate. Like the lingerie thing didn't really. I wasn't like expecting that degree to happen. You know?
Obviously, I wasn't like expecting. Okay, I'm gonna see her strip in the classroom. I didn't think that. But I was like, something's gonna happen with this. So was I?
But I guess it's just like the degree that it takes it to that makes it feel kind of artificial, or just like what like just takes out the subtlety of it. Like the whole snow crabs thing, like that's there and it seems like odd in a way. Yeah. And then it comes back for like this huge like that's not really your mom
like
reveal.
I think that was a better
but that's because like
done more.
But that's because like it did it more gradually compared to everything else, right? Like that's kind of a reoccurring theme and like
Yeah.
a knowledge you knew from the beginning,
Right.
and went through, and like it kind of kept bringing its up
Right,
itself,
a
you know,
little bit,
throughout
little
the
by
movie.
little, yeah.
And then when it happened, it felt better rather
Yeah.
than like the mother reveal where it's like the PI investigates the husband,
Exactly.
and then she's like, "Oh, I have one more favor," and then we hear nothing about that
Right.
up until it
And
happens.
so that's why I'm saying, like, if I think it's the quantity
right,
of how many of these that they put in that makes it feel even more artificial.
right,
Whereas maybe if they did like 2 or 3 of them, it would have felt a lot less like, you know, like they're
really
doing
trying.
this, like really trying to, like, you know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, for me, it's like it's not less quantity, but just like handling of it. Honestly, like just to like again have a good setup is you can't bring something as a foreshadow and then just like leave it. You know, I think that for this type of reveals that they do it, it's like staying consistent and kind of bringing it up more subtly and then raising it as, you know, before the turnaround happens.
Yeah.
Rather than like having it incubate for like an hour and a half and then bring it up later, you know.
Yeah.
That's sort of like where my problem is, and that's where it loses its like magic per se, you know. Whereas it's like, you know, in Our Little Sister, like we knew about like the whole family dynamic from the start, you know,
Yeah.
and then the whole movie was just kind of like unfolding that family dynamic as the movie grew. But we knew like everybody, and we knew who was related to who and who wasn't related, and et cetera throughout. Whereas like here we knew nothing, you know. We just kind of found out as things were happening,
Right.
in a sudden kind of way. So, but again, like you kind of get like a different perspective, like the second watch, because you're not held back by those surprises anymore. You know, you just kind of like see it for as a story or like as it is, you know.
Yeah.
And some things, like it's like a good and bad thing, because some things you're like, okay, yeah, that was still out of place, like the mother thing, or kind of like the Takumi incident. But other things are like, this kind of works really well for what it is. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't know, like I just like it a lot, the characters, and it works like emotionally. I'm like, I cry all the time. Like there are some scenes that I watch and I'm just like, I can't help but like tear up. Like it's so good. Like with the mother scene where she's like crying out in desperation. I'm like, you can't look at that and not feel something.
Yeah.
You can't. And so, but yeah. Any other favorite scenes or kicking dead horses?
I think I said mine.
Right.
Yeah, that scene with the mother alone.
I was thinking like Ayuko, their strange daughter. Her like her role in the movie and her reactions is the audience. Like every cutaway that she has in the key moments is like what I'm expressing.
like when she's like crying in the car.
Yeah, yes. Every time I see that, I go, "That's me with the tear. That's exactly me." She's just like sitting at the window.
Yeah.
Like pulling away.
During that whole like fight kind of moment, I was like, "What is Ayuko doing in there?" And then they cut away to her at the end. And I was like, "Okay."
Or like just everything with her. Even when her first reveal, and then like the dad comes in, and then like this random ass little girl walks into the kitchen, and Azumi's just like, she's like, "This is your sister." She's like, "What?" And she's just looking at her with a straight face. She's just like, "What?" Even Ayuko's like her father, just kind of indifferent in some situations.
Yeah.
Like in the beginning, and then she like turns into a normal daughter
Yeah.
at the end. But yeah, actually, my favorite shot is right after that scene with Sakamiki, and they go to the aquarium, and then they're standing in front of the jellyfish, and then like Futaba's like, you know, she's pretty, she's healthy and younger, and then she like grabs her hands, and it's like sink. Sink. But it's such a pretty shot too, though.
It is.
Such a pretty shot.
I like the Mount Fuji shot.
When they're standing out. Did it look CGI to you?
Yeah, it was like huge.
Yeah.
Like, damn,
Definitely
dude.
looked placed.
Yeah.
I was like, come on, guys. Yeah. Would you see the whole mountain from there?
I don't know.
It looked close, but then far, like composited small. Like I felt like you might would have seen like.
Yeah, it was like huge. Like it looked like just like right there.
Well, it is Mount Fuji. It is big, dude.
But,
Yeah. I mean, closing thoughts. Anything? Oh, considering this a family drama.
Nah, it's not a family drama. How can you call this a family drama? Just kidding. No, yeah, of course.
He's not kidding.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think it's a very dysfunctional family drama.
Nobody's related.
Yeah. I mean, they are, but like
Hardly.
they're
Only
like
the dad.
all halves.
Only the
They're
dad.
like halves
Yeah.
of each other. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like the dad's related to everyone,
And the mom's
and the
just
mom and everyone's like half sisters, and like and like the PI suddenly becomes family, and the Takumi is like the lost distant son that comes out of
I
nowhere.
know.
Like,
I'm the son-in-law to nobody. Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, it's very much a family drama leaning towards the, like, non-nuclear family
yeah,
sort
no,
of
I
sense,
agree.
you know?
Yeah,
I think it definitely rips apart, and kind of like what I was reading, too, with Nakano was saying. Just kind of like defining a family outside of a family, you know?
yeah,
And sort of just like, even though that they're all not related by blood per se, but they are all still kind of connected in a way that makes them family. You know,
Yeah.
they kind of treat each other close. But just definitely ripping off every rule and like mechanism to what makes a traditional family
yeah.
and kind of throwing it into this movie, but putting them together in a way.
But I do agree with the sentiment that like you don't really necessarily have to be blood related, right?
Right,
To be
right.
family, and I think what matters is just like the connection that you have with that person and how you like live out, you know, with
Right,
one
right.
another.
Right. Just sort of like that relationship between them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for me too, like, with all that and just like the movie, like thematically as well, sticks to kind of being a family, and the movie is just hugely family centric, just playing with, you know, the different roles of like you kind of like, it's funny because like, I mean, you just start off as like one family, and then the movie just breaks out like, no, we're not
It
a
just
family.
keeps adding people.
Yeah, like it just keeps adding people, but then taking away the fact that they are a family, you
Right.
know? But staying consistent that like their relationship is still as a mother and daughter, and that you have this random sister, but they get closer as sisters, and like this is your estranged father who just like abandoned you, but then they kind of like reunite in a
Yeah.
way, you know, and just sort of like mend these different things.
And you have a brother too, an older brother, who's traveling the world.
traveling the world. I don't know. He seemed more
Oh,
like
and you have an uncle too, and a younger
Takumi.
cousin.
Takumi seemed more like an uncle, like a young weird uncle,
Okay,
but.
the PI is definitely an uncle.
I don't know. I didn't see him like related into the family. He just seemed like a close friend. Like the daughter Mayu,
Yeah, she was mad cute too.
adorable Mayu.
Oh, cute little.
Sphinx.
Yeah, she's cute.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, this was a great one. Would you recommend it?
Yeah, I would. It's fun. It's a fun. It's a fun watch.
Fun is the word you gave it.
Fun, like FUN. You know.
F is for friends. I don't know if I would categorize it as fun, but I would definitely recommend it to anybody. It's an engaging watch. Like, even though these like
Exactly.
random like things happen, you know, that those things are like engaging. Like those, they kind of sweep you off your feet in a kind of a sense, you know.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my god, what?
Yeah. It's
The
fun.
dad,
It's fun to
what?
watch. You're like, the twist is coming.
Wait for it.
Yeah.
God, it is. But yeah, it's like, honestly, it's such the polar opposite of Our Little Sister, but it's in a similar realm in a way.
Yeah.
You know?
Like the level of like hope, I think, in the film
Yeah.
is kind of similar. Where
sure.
like it doesn't
Yeah.
feel like a film that's like sulking
Yeah.
in its like sorrow and like, man, this family's messed up and broken and sucks. It's not like that, right?
Right.
And same goes for Our Little Sister. It never
Yeah.
has that like impression of like this sucks. This family sucks, right?
Yeah. I mean, like, they both have the same goal, like, thematically, as, like, staying as a family and kind of, like, mending past traumas and sort of, like, becoming closer as a like, a nuclei, just to tonally in different ways. Whereas like
Yeah.
our little sister's more subtle and kind of like a more kind of like calm sort of like wave. Rather, her Loverboy's Bathwater is just like front and like
Yeah.
forward and like attacks issues and
Yeah.
really goes at it hardcore, you know, and pulls no punches. And I think that's kind of like more aligned like with me as well, kind of how I see it. And maybe that's why like this movie resonated with me more, because it's just more like in your face rather than. Not to say I don't enjoy a good like soft movie, which I do love too, but comparing the two.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It's a good movie.
it's a very good movie. The next one, I have no idea.
What's up with that?
I have no idea.
That funny.
It looks really downer, man.
It's definitely a
it,
downer.
it looks like 180 compared to. Who knows if it's even hopeful?
I
it looks
don't
so
even
down.
know, man.
It looks so down. It didn't even look hopeful.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I would recommend Her Love Was Bathwater, and then we have one more.
Yep.
One more,
Last one.
which hopefully should still be on Netflix. I mean,
Yeah, The Sun, right?
A-Sun.
A-Sun?
I think it's A-Sun.
A-Sun?
Taiwanese.
Yeah.
I believe? Yeah. That one's a long one too.
Oh, is it?
Almost 3 hours.
Oh, okay.
It's like 240.
Damn.
240 of
Wow.
dark clouds and sadness.
No, you never know. Maybe there is something.
Maybe.
I think the premise was like the son like goes to jail or something.
Yeah, like it's like about a family, and I think the youngest son, if I'm not mistaken, gets incarcerated.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't think the movie is really even about him per se. I think it's really also more about his family and like how the mother and the father deal with it, and how his like his brother or sister or whatever deals with it. Kind of like the post-traumatic effects of that situation.
Yeah.
So.
We'll find out.
But it is on Netflix, so you don't have to struggle for this one. Unless you want to, then it's not my problem.
Yep.
But you ready for that one? And then we get to move on.
But I heard good things about it actually.
Yeah, it's got
So-
like many great accolades to it.
So hopefully
Just tonally questionable.
hopefully the 3 hours will fly by.
God, I hope so.
Yeah.
Soaking in my own tears.
Awesome, man. And then with that, we'll finish our series,
That's a wrap.
our family drama series.
Should we move to something
Finally,
more exciting?
like what?
I don't know.
Like action? Like what we've already done?
Action part 2.
How much more exciting can you get than action?
Comedies? Oh, we did
We
comedies.
did,
Oh, fuck, we done like
we did everything.
We
bro.
did everything. All right, that was a fun podcast series, guys. We're good. You know,
Bye.
this was great. This was an experience. Yeah, no, we'll.
Yeah, we'll let you guys know next week
Yeah,
what happens.
maybe for kind. Okay,
If we care.
if we care. But yes, that's it. Pieces.
All right. Bye.